Good evening. Good evening. What's up, family? I am so excited to talk to y'all again tonight. So, listen, before I bring up my special guest, if you have not gotten your ticket, what is you doing, baby? Like, listen, you have listened to the chats the past few days. You can see it's fire speakers coming. And listen, most of them OGs, so they've been down since 2020. Every single speaker that I have coming, new or old, are experts in their areas. They are ready to sow into you. So there is no reason why you have not gotten your ticket yet. I don't understand. I don't understand. But anyway, let me bring up my special guest because we're going to have a very good conversation tonight. Hello, Dr. Amber.
Hello, everybody who's watching. Welcome.
Yes. Nashama, my OG. What's up, girl?
What's happening, beautifully dope people?
Yes. And Mallory, our
Hi.
songbird. Ladies, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for being willing to sow into the ladies and men, because we got some men, y'all, that have signed up to come to the conference. So thank you for saying yes and just being a part of my vision. This thing that I have birthed since 2020. I'm so excited. This is number 5, y'all. I can't believe my mind is my business is 5. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being a part. I'll start with you, Dr. Amber. I want you to share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Well, and like I said, good evening to everybody. And thank you so much for being here to learn more about us. Lakeisha, thank you so much for hosting this. I didn't even know it had been 5 years. So the undertaking that's required to do that is tremendous. So thank you for having me. I am Dr. Amber Gunner, and my services support parents with burnout and work-life balance. I partner with a lot of organizations and corporations to bring workshops to their parents in supporting with work-life balance, burnout, as well as how to build allies and support so that they're not taking it all on their own.
Yes, I love that. And you know, we about to get all into that tonight for sure, for sure. Nishaba, welcome. Please tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much for having me again. My name is Nashama Alahim. I'm the self love minister. I'm the founder of the Self Love Church, and I'm also a self love and success coach. I primarily work with women entrepreneurs to help them get out of their own way, inspire more self belief so they can finally accomplish their goals. So I do that through one on one coaching, through virtual and in person events, workshops, retreats, things like that.
Yes, I love it. And y'all, it's like real deal. Okay. Like for real, for real. So we talk about alignment, Dr. Amber, Nashama, and Mallory. Mallory, tell the folks who you are and what you do.
Yes, as you heard, my name is Mallory. I am a singer, songwriter, and recording artist, but I'm also a mental health advocate through my own experiences as well as helping others. And I throw an annual charity birthday party to celebrate my birthday, but also raise funds to send minority young adults to therapy.
Yes, I love that. I love all of y'all initiative. It is giving back that means a lot. And so, Dr. Amber, I'll go and pivot to you. I want to talk about in your journey as someone who helps us get balanced and form these allyships. What is one of the first things that you would suggest that a women business owner or leader should do?
Yeah, great question. And off top, I would say you want to get clear on your values, really what's important to you and how you want to show up, because so much of what I like to kind of think of as my tunnel vision is able to happen and to keep me focused and balanced or know when I'm veering off is based on those values. I talk a lot with my clients when it comes down to guilt and comparison. Those values are one of the things that's really going to help to put you back in your lane, because I could see a mom doing something over there with her kids and maybe I'm feeling a way, but is it that I'm feeling a way because I'm out of of alignment with my values, or am I watching her do something that works for her but isn't quite in alignment for me? So the first thing we start at is looking at those values to really kind of discover who we are and what's important to us.
Right. Oh my gosh. Y'all, did y'all just say that? Like, for real, I think so much of what we feel is based off of not even any facts or truth. It's based off of what we've seen from someone else that now we're putting on our shoulders. Dr. Van talked about that last night. Like, we're picking up stuff that ain't even ours.
Mhm.
And now we're overwhelmed and now we're upset. Oh my gosh, that's good. So Mallory, I'll toss that to you as someone who is a huge mental health advocate, someone who has struggled themselves, but also you speak about imposter syndrome. How important is allyship in that?
On one side, I have to say that allyship is extremely important when it comes to imposter syndrome, because, you know, having a support system that's able to talk to you and tell you that these thoughts you're having or these feelings that you're having that are going against yourself and your alignment are not true is extremely important. However, I also have to say that I find it really important to be able to counter those thoughts and those feelings without having to go to a support system, because at the end of the day, people are people, they have their own things going on. And, you know, what happens if those relationships that you have are no longer there at some point for whatever reason? You have to be able to do those things yourself. So again, having the allyship and support is important, but most of all, you know, it's also supplemental to countering those thoughts for yourself.
Right. I love that you said that. I'll speak from my own experience. I remember when I actually had my mental break, God had already started to move people from my life that apparently were not going to be on this path that I'm on now. And so when I had that break, I was alone. I was literally by myself. I couldn't go to anyone, or I won't say that. The people who I have now were not in my life, are not focal or not visible as they are now. However, I was alone. And so I did have to learn how to counter those thoughts and work through what I was dealing with after, you know, getting with a really great therapist and talking about that. So I think that's a really good point as well, that we do have to do a little bit of that work within ourselves. Neshama, I'm going to throw that over to you as someone who speaks very well about self-love. I think that plays a huge part in how we deal with mental illness or anything mental. You know, when I just think off the top, like, self-love is a big part of that. When we talk about allyship, which I absolutely love, what part does self-love play into that?
When it comes to self-love, there's so many parts of it. Most people automatically jump to self-care, and then they're only thinking about physical self-care. There's so many other aspects of self-care, mental self-care, social self-care, physical self-care, things like that. And so self-love is everything in its totality. So I feel like when you are operating in self-love, you are seeking your highest and best. You want to constantly be in alignment. You want to operate in what's best for you. And so when it comes to allyship, it's about intentionally seeking out those partnerships and those relationships. A lot of times it's easy to sit alone by yourself and cry under the covers, but social self-care is a thing. Like, you have to give yourself those relationships. You have to intentionally seek them out. And I know as adults, it's so weird trying to make friends and things like that. But that's also when you get into your stress outlets, finding your hobbies. I feel like that's how we connect with others, you know, through music, through pottery, through yoga, whatever it is. That's how you widen your circles. You're not going to meet somebody and find those allies that you need by sitting in the house.
Yeah. See, I was to sit in the house. You know, I have two great friends, Yolanda and Cindy. I referenced them last night, and I'm the one out the group who's like that little girl on that reel that's like, I just want to go home. Like, I like being at home. But I realized that being out helps me. I'm meeting people, I'm networking, but also I'm also discovering things about myself that I didn't even realize were there. And when you speak about self-care, you're very right. Physical is the first thing that comes to people's minds. So, y'all, this is my whole take on self-care, and my boss is the same way. It's just crazy how we sync. So we go to the nail salon or whatever. So I don't get my nails done, but I get a pedicure. So now I can't really relax because I got to make sure you're not cutting me. I got to make sure the water's not too hot. I got to make sure that the color you're putting is right. Even if you get your nails done, you got to make sure they don't nick you. You got to make sure the nails are right. Even getting my hair done, it's like, okay, I can't really relax. I can relax when she's washing it, but I get silk presses because my hair is natural. So now I'm going back. I got PTSD from the hot comb, and that's not necessary that we gotta do.
Not at
It's
all.
not
Not at all. And I talk to clients about rejuvenation and replenishment. If after that activity you are not feeling rejuvenated, and I tell them naps are free. You don't even have to go spend money. Naps is something that's free. And if you feel replenished and rejuvenated after that, that is what it looks like for you. But I'm so happy y'all are saying this. And I think people are starting to become aware that, it's easy to stick a product and say that that's self-care. But if at the end of it, you do not feel more replenished, happy than when you started, it may not be self-care for you. And that's okay.
Right. That's so true. That's a great point. Because when I leave, I'm like, okay, they're cute, but I'm anxious now. Like, I need to go get a drink because that was a lot. Like, I did nothing. He did all the work, or Christy did all the work. Now I need to go get a drink because I'm stressed out.
You got to go to the nail salon where they serve drinks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my spot because I'm in Houston now. I gotta tell you my spot.
Look, Cynthia's spot. We all in H-Town, so Cynthia's spot. I love it, guys. So, Mallory, I'll toss this question to you. We talked about allyship, self-care. Let's talk about self-discovery. How do you, or what advice would you give someone who needs what Dr. Amber just talked about, that rejuvenation to feel different? Like, what advice would you give someone on how to discover that if they don't know?
On discovering that, as well as anything you want to discover about yourself, I have two actions that I really, really stick to. One is, contrary to, getting out and being social, is spend some time with yourself. And when I say time with yourself, I don't mean like, oh, I'm at home cleaning up, or like I'm out to dinner by myself, or I'm at the movies by myself. I'm saying like spend some quiet time or with some music in the background, having conversations with yourself. Like we joke about that all the time. Like, oh, I'm always talking to myself and everything. But like, how do you get to know someone? You talk to them, right? So as you go through life and continue to change, like you need to continue to have conversations with yourself. And the second thing is, within those conversations, if I don't have the answer to a question about myself, like, why do I feel this way about whatever situation, what makes me happy? What do I do to have fun? I keep asking the question why, or the question that's going to fulfill that question or that answer. You know what I'm saying? Because until you get down to below surface level, the foundation of whatever is going on, you need to keep asking those questions, just like we do with close friends or partners or family. To get closer to them, do the same with you. So spending time with myself and continuing to ask questions, especially the question why, is so important.
Yes, I love that you say that. I think COVID did a lot of things. I mean, it was devastating, but I think COVID actually helped a lot of us realize who we were, because we had to be alone. You had to sit in silence. Y'all, think about the relationships that broke up, marriages, friendships, engagement, because people had to sit with each other, and the mask or the representative that was there fell off. And we saw a lot of breakdown in relationships where people who we've known for years, even personally, just think about it personally, people we've known for years just wasn't who they said they was, or things just was discovered about them, or even you. I think for me, I began to see some ugly things about people that were not in alignment. And I feel like now, although it was heartbreaking at the time when God removed them, it just wouldn't have worked with where he has me now. So I love that you said that getting alone by yourself, because I do feel like that's how we do discover ourselves and discover like what it is that we like. It was so crazy, y'all. Like I began to realize like, oh, I do like this. It was people around me that were affecting decision. And y'all, I ain't nobody easy to manipulate. So it's just like your environment when you get around, those things. So I really, really love that you said sometimes just sitting still, journaling, those things like really help you discover like who you are and really what it is you like. Now I liked it too much, y'all. So that's why God was like, I need to bring you out of isolation, honey, because you over here chilling by yourself and you like it. Like really really like it. So I'm going to ask you, Neshama, and Dr. Amber, this question. Same premise as what I said to Mallory. But what about someone like me who's all the way to the left? Like, I ain't trying to go outside. I don't really care about meeting nobody unless we doing it virtually. But I need to figure out some things. There needs to be some kind of self-discovery in this process.
Yeah, for sure. I like that everybody keeps bringing up that self-discovery process, because that's actually where I start in anything, whether I'm doing a class, whether I'm onboarding a client. We start with self-awareness. And that self-awareness work is all the things that Mallory was talking about. That's sitting with yourself, asking yourself those real questions, journaling, spending that time meditating, really getting to know yourself. I did a live one time that was like, people may say it's crazy, but sometimes you got to talk to yourself. Sometimes you got to play crazy. You know what I mean? Like, if it's crazy, fine, call me crazy, but I'm going to get to know me. You know what I mean? And it's necessary. So I like that we are all in alignment with that, because it is so, so important. And you said something about other people affecting the things that you like. I talk about that all the time. Sometimes we don't even know what we like for real because we've taken on other people's stuff. Or think about it. I mean, we're raised in a family when we get here. So all your family's ideas, all their tastes, like my mom used to order supreme pizza because that was her thing, and then get mad that we didn't eat it and was picking all the things off. I'm 5. I don't like onions, lady. Like,
what? I don't even like it.
So, it had me thinking I didn't like pizza. You know what I'm saying? Or the fact that I grew up in a house with apple jelly, but my favorite now is strawberry. You know what I mean? Like something as trivial as that, like we have to find out what we really like. And you do that through self-awareness and self-discovery work. So that is always the first place to start.
Right. Oh, I love that. Girl, yes. We grew up in houses where it was like, you'll eat it before it eats you. Or, and I was like, what kind of abuse was that, ma'am? Like, you gonna make me go to bed hungry because
I don't like black eyed peas. Like,
so yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Dr. Amber, what's your take?
To derail us a little bit, I had to go on mute so that I could exert a boundary in the back. My kids are here. We have this thing of when I tell them that when the door is closed and mommy is doing something, unless there is blood, somebody is passed out, or somebody is thrown up, you do not enter. And so I'm smiling, exerting a boundary going on back here. Because,
you work that, sis. Okay. You work that.
Do not come in. I'm on a meeting. You talked about being one of those people that went through a relationship challenge during 2020. And I literally set out to start my business. And then a week later, found myself in a divorce. Mm-hmm. And so part of that self-discovery, and it felt like the self-discovery started far before then, but I think part of that self-discovery is being able to release that shame that comes with I'm changing, I'm becoming someone different, you know. And, you know, Nashima, to your work, I'm sure it's about being okay and accepting the fact that I'm becoming more of who I am. And the people that are intended to be with me will show up. And honey, they have shown
Right.
up. And I have my bouts of wanting to stay in the house. And then I remember what it feels like to be in connection, in community, talking with my friends. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, I'm gonna come out. You know, so really kind of getting back to what is the why of, you know, your social and wanting to be around other people. What do you really value in those interactions? And then creating that life of having those people around you that offer that.
Right. I love that. I mean, y'all hear me mention Yolanda and Cindy quite a bit. They are so funny and so fun to hang out with. And we're actually all like in the singles ministry at my church, but we all have these very like genuine connections with each other, but other people as well. And so it's funny because they like they like to go out. I love my friends. But they always joke with me because they're like, you actually be acting like this little girl on this reel. Like you literally be looking like that in the face. Like you want to go home. And it's not that I don't have a good time with them. I think it's that slowly like getting out of like being home. You know, my things are here. You know, I saw a post the other week that said, what you doing this weekend? Enjoying my rent. Because I had just paid rent. It was the beginning of the month. It was like enjoying my rent. So I really love that you brought up two things, Dr. Amber. And I'm going to throw this one to you first, Nashama, about boundaries and community. Because again, y'all talking about let's be outside. We got to establish some stuff when we do go outside. So when you think about community, a lot of times people don't think about boundaries. When we think about boundaries, we don't even think about relationships because we're so afraid to set them. I feel like they go hand in hand, especially when we talk about self-love, self-worth, and as Dr. Amber is an expert in that balance. What is your take on number one, either creating or being a part of a community and where boundaries play a part in that?
Well, like I said, I definitely believe in community, whether you have to create it yourself or, you know, joining another community. And then you mentioned earlier about meeting people virtually. That's fine too. Like we don't have to physically be in the same room to have a relationship. Like three of my closest business buddies all live in other states. I want to say one is in like Wisconsin or Milwaukee or something. And yeah, she's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. One is in Virginia and the other one is in like Chicago. Like, and I'm in Texas. So we don't have to be in the same region to be close. And I know that I can count on them for things like when I have things they come and support, online events and things like that. So that is so important. But boundaries are also important too. And you have to not be afraid to enforce boundaries. I feel like boundaries should be in every relationship. Set boundaries with your mama, set boundaries with your man, set boundaries with your clients, set boundaries with these kids. They're going to step all over them, but they still need to learn now at a young age what boundaries are. You know what I mean? So every relationship should have some sort of boundaries and agreements within them. The thing is, we're not really taught how to function in relationships. We just model what we see. And what we've seen is a lot of effed up relationships. So that's that. So we have to relearn some things. And as you're relearning yourself, you're learning how you actually want to do things, how you actually want to operate in these friendships and relationships.
Right. Ooh, baby, y'all about to shut it down next week. Listen, Nashama, you just said set boundaries with your mama, the woman who birthed you, because we, for some reason, feel like not that we shouldn't respect them, but that we have to let them walk all over us because they mama, number one.
It's
fear. And with the man and with the children. I have grandchildren. So it's like I got to sit all the way around. Like, you too, but go sit down.
Yes.
Stay out my space.
Because 2-year-olds know how to set boundaries. When my son was little, when he first wake up, if I come in there with all that, good morning, baby, he's like, And so I had to learn he's not fully awake yet. He needs to wake up before I come in here bothering him. And he's 1 or 2, you know what I mean? Like, so if they can set boundaries, why not us?
You
And
sure?
I encourage them to, you know what I'm saying? I have a 10-year-old autistic daughter and she has boundaries galore. Sometimes you do not want to be hugged, you know what I'm saying? And you got to respect that. So boundaries are important in every relationship.
Right. Oh, Lord, I love that. Dr. Amber, community, boundaries. And you just did it very gracefully. I had no idea.
I tell you,
anything.
with a smile, right? You know, boundaries is the one thing that I would say was the hardest to set with my mother. And it's the one thing she would say that she's so grateful for in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I share that because, you know, we do often have that fear of what that's going to do to the relationship. But sometimes we're missing how we are going to bless, how we are going to model and show for someone else the very thing they need to learn. And so that in having that with her, it became so much easier to say, I'm simply teaching people how to have this for themselves, right? And with my daughter, same thing, you know, as a parent, we are modeling that for them. And then she goes to school and she's modeling that for the other students. And so, you know, we looked at it sometimes as something that is negative, but really all it means is that we have limitations. We have it on our time, we have it on our emotions, we have physical limitations, and then we're sharing that with other people who want to be in relation with us. And that's a huge part of allyship, is being able to communicate those, having that person on the receiving end respect that, and then also being able to be clear on what their boundaries are. And sometimes that means us teaching it to them. But I tell people all the time, in the work that I do and all the things that I've done, I could not do it without community. Co-parenting is one of the things I talk about a lot because it is so necessary, not only for me, but for those children and for my co-parent as well, for us to still harmonize and also have those boundaries, you know? So in every relationship, it is an integral part of building community.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that you said that. Even in the co-parenting, when my ex-husband and I divorced, our kids were older, so they understood. But I felt like in order for us to be how we are now, they had to see, you know, what it was. And my son even references that, like, oh, you and dad have a great relationship. But not only do me and dad, but me, dad, and his new wife. Nicole and I are great friends.
Absolutely.
I mean, we hang out. She helps. She's who y'all been talking to. So it's different. People are like, y'all got the same last name. Yeah. And we laugh at it. We laugh about it because they're trying to figure something out. Especially if we say, well, no, we're not sisters. And they're just trying to figure out like why we got the same last name. But it's so important when you co-parent or you have these very different, I'll say, relationships, that you definitely express the boundaries, but also you show what healthy relationships look like.
Yes. And we've been teaching unconditional love. You know, we've been teaching the fact that mommy and daddy don't necessarily have to be married anymore for me to still care about that person's well-being and their happiness, because that affects all of this.
Exactly. I love you said that. Mallory, you wear lots of hats. You are a recording artist. You are a social media influencer, as well as you have your own stuff you're doing with mental health. Let's talk about community and boundaries when it comes to that, because I done some brand deals, baby. Sometimes I'll be like, listen, if you email me one more time, changing something on this campaign, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah. So obviously, in so many ways and for so many reasons and so many areas of life, community is so important. From, you guys mentioned like support, and even just having those people to connect with and create bonds with. But boundaries are something that I really had to learn on a professional level as well as a personal level, because I went through 20 something years of my life trying to figure out why I always felt so mentally and emotionally drained. Like,
Mhm.
I literally got to the point to where, like, something would happen to a friend, that they were grieving about. And it would stress me out to send a text message and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And like,
Mhm.
for the longest, I didn't get that. I was like, why would that bother me? Like, why am I having to force myself to check on my friend? And so I sat down and I had a conversation with myself and started asking
Mhm.
myself why, until I got down to the bottom of it. And what it came to was boundaries and the lack of them not creating a community that supported me, right?
Yes.
I was supporting my community, but because I didn't have boundaries, I didn't have a community that, for the most part, was supporting me. So, in the past few years, I've really had to really just kind of like jump off of a cliff when it comes to creating boundaries and enforcing them. It's so hard to enforce them because a lot of us have been taught, especially when it comes to like family and close friends, that you do anything, that unconditional love looks like not saying no, or because this is XYZ relationship,
Mhm.
y'all are supposed to just share everything. Y'all are supposed to help with everything. You're supposed to go to the ends of the earth, even when you don't have the capacity to do it,
Yep.
you know? And so and I'm still working on this, but I just really had to jump off the cliff and say, like, I may be able to do it physically, but do I have the capacity right now? No. Sometimes I have to tell friends, hey, I'm telling y'all ahead of time, I'm going through some things right now. So I'm here for you, but not like usual. Sometimes I have
Right.
to tell friends, like, I need y'all to pick up the slack because, like, I'm hurting right now,
Right.
and I also have to, unfortunately, I've lost a lot of relationships because I've set boundaries like, you're not being there for me. You are not being a friend. And I'm sitting here being a friend for you. There's a line that has to be drawn, and relationships get dropped because of that. But it's okay because now you're practicing self-love. And if
Right.
you're not practicing self-love, there's no self to love anybody else. So it's just something that, like I said, you have to jump off the cliff and continue to work on it.
Right. I love all of what all y'all saying. Just trust and believe. It is what the people who are watching need to hear. I think we get so bogged down in taking care of other people that we do forget about self. I've been saying all week, people ask me stuff, I'm saying no before it's finished. And then I may be like, oh yeah, I could, my bad, I'm sorry. I could, it's no, like automatically it's no. And I feel like in the work that we do, we have to be very cautious about our time. We have to be very stingy, if that's a word to even use when we talk about this, about our time, our talent, and our treasure. Because we can get more money. We could probably learn another skill, but you can't get no time back. And so I am very, very I'm a stickler for it. People ask, oh, you got all these things going on. How do you do it? Managing my time. Managing my time because I can't get any of that back. And if in creating that boundary, it upsets you or it makes you feel like we're not friends, then I don't need you, as a friend. I don't need that kind of pressure. Because sometimes you're right, Mallory. It's like this pressure. I think for me, last year, and I've shared this, like I lost 4 family members like back to back. I was literally numb. If you came to me and said, oh, I lost someone in my family, beyond saying I'm sorry to hear that, I had no words. I didn't feel anything, like, and I told my therapist that, and he said that's normal. But Mallory, you brought up something again, and I want to share this. My therapist says one of the most critical questions that we could ever ask ourselves and others is why. One word. And I thought about it at first, and I came back to him. I said, why? He said, why makes you dive deep? Because when you get that one answer, if it's still not clear, you need to go deeper and ask why again. And then you need to ask why again till you get a very clear picture about what it is that you either stand for, whatever you're trying to get to the bottom of. So I love that y'all all are in alignment with a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about, at the conference, which I'm super, super excited about. Dr. Amber, I'll talk to you about women in business and leadership. I feel like sometimes we get the bad end of the stick. I feel like sometimes there is an expectation that's here, but there are tools, resources, and things that are here for us based off of our counterparts. And I speak specifically women of color, Black women. What are some of the things that you help your clients with when it seems like those conditions occur?
Yeah. So just to kind of clarify with the question, I think you're asking that, when the expectation is set, but it doesn't seem as though the tools and the support is there to help in really meeting that. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. And so one of the things we talk about, obviously, I am a resource in helping them doing that, but being part of that lifelong learning. And so it's almost like when you go into a classroom and you understand that they don't have pencils, they don't have erasers and things that you need. You have to figure out a way how to get the resources that you need, but not to let that be a deterrent from you being on your goal. And so I actually had a client who was in a VP position and she really wanted to start another business. She had one established, she wanted to start another one, and she's working her corporate job. And so we had to really kind of figure out, based on what you have access to, how can you utilize that? And then what are some things you may have to bring in as your own resources? Because one, they just may not be aware that that exists, and you're going to have to educate them on the tools that you need to effectively do that job. And so a lot of it sometimes can go back to that communication, but it's going to be us figuring out where are the gaps, what is missing that you need in order to really step into that leadership role. And it may not always be tangible tools. We talk about the blocks and things that are getting in the way of us being able to achieve.
Right. I love that you said that. Neshama, let me throw this to you, but I want to add in what Dr. Amber just said. We know what the conditions are. We know what we need, but we won't ask. We won't communicate what that is. And we just sit by and we say, oh, well, they didn't give me what I needed, so I couldn't do it.
A lot of that is fear, because we're already expecting the no. I know there was a lot of times where I didn't even want to ask because I'm like, well, they're going to say no anyway. You know what I mean? And I think when you are in so many situations like that's your default setting now. And so that's how you operate. That's the energy you carry. So you're not going to do anything different. It's outside of you to ask for what you really need. You ain't been doing it. You know what I mean? So that's something that you have to learn and be intentional about. You have to ask for what you need, because people aren't psychic. They can't read your mind, as much as we want them to. And I think it's really hard for women because even as a young age, we're taught that we're the prize, sit back and let them chase us. So we're not really telling them what to do to pursue us, honestly. We're just sitting back waiting to see what they're going to do. And if we like it, we respond to it. If we don't, then we respond negatively to it. So, and I know that was my case. So you grow up not saying anything, and I think you operate, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So a lot of the ways that we operate in relationships is how we handle business as well. And I'm seeing that a lot too. Like, honestly, I'm used to being pursued. I'm used to being chased. I'm used to people giving me things. So it's foreign to me to have to actually attract the clients that I want. Like, I gotta tell y'all I'm dope. All right, then, okay. Like,
Right. I love it. That's
so
true.
I mean, it's the same thing. Like, even asking for those things in relationships. I mean, it's after dark. How many years have like a lot of us faked orgasms? I mean, I don't, but I know a lot of people that do.
Right.
That stems from being afraid to ask for what you need. You just accepting what's given to you. And
Right.
hope that he's cool and you're gonna pretend you're cool until the next time. You know what I'm saying? So again, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So we gotta
Yeah.
get past these mental blocks and not be afraid to ask for what we need.
Exactly. I love that you said that. One of my favorite books that I kind of share every year when I go through to read books is called The Big Ask by Lucinda Cross, and she's an amazing friend. I love this book, and it's 21 keys to getting the life that you want and you deserve. And one of the things she does, I've seen this lady in action do this whole thing where if you, Nashama, say, I want a storefront. The people in the room, who in here got a storefront? Okay, so what does the shaman need to do to get access to your storefront? Because the thing is, we want it, but do we actually ask for it?
Right.
Sometimes we hint at things. I remember when my kids was younger. Oh, I sure would like some Cheetos. Do you want some Cheetos? You gonna ask for some Cheetos? Like, what is it? You hinting ain't gonna get you nothing. And really, when y'all think about it, Tony Robbins says this: as leaders, business people, we create wish lists. Well, I wish I had this, instead of going out there and doing the work, being intentional in our actions to get what it is that we say we want. We just say we wish we had something, or we wish we could do something. We don't actually put any action behind any of those things.
Right.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Mallory, imposter syndrome is definitely something that we struggle with, a lot of us. But I think sometimes it is we put that up on us because we're not asking for the things that we want. So we feel like we don't deserve it. And then when we are successful, we're like, well, what do I really deserve this? Like, how did I get here? You know, you wake up and you're like, how did I get here? So what do you feel like is like one of the things that kind of keeps us in that cycle of feeling like an imposter?
That's a tough one because I think there are so many factors that can contribute to that, from the household that you grew up in, to the school that you went to and the people you were hanging out with or the people you weren't hanging out with, to how you deal with rejection. Like, I just feel like there are so many things that contribute. But I mean, me personally, I was always the person that was like on the verge of it, right? Like, for example, in high school, or in all of school, I was a stellar student. I was involved in so many different clubs and activities between school and church. I knew everybody. I was a cheerleader. I was a dancer. But at the same time, and I always worked hard. I got a job at some point. Like, I went hard at everything I did. So it was like, it was kind of like picture perfect if you go down the list on paper. But at the same time, I wasn't quite liked. Like, I knew everybody, but I wasn't to hang out with, And then the same thing started happening professionally. Like, I put in so much work, and she's a hard worker. She learns quickly. She acclimates quickly. But I could never quite nail, the job that I wanted, And then when it came to music, beautiful voice. She puts on an amazing show. She works so hard. She's always working on the next project, but can't quite get to the opportunities that, I want to get to. So after time or over time, whether we want to admit it or not, like, that affects the person.
Yeah.
It creates a pattern that, whatever you want to call it, like, I'm just not good enough, or I put in all the work, but obviously I don't deserve what I'm trying to get to, because if I did, like, and I was putting in the work, it would be happening.
Right.
So you know, again, there are so many things that factor into imposter syndrome, but I definitely think it comes from those patterns being created by an environment. The difference is like, what are you going to do once you realize you have that imposter syndrome?
Right. I love that. We're going to ask the question to the two experts over here. Neshama, we're going to start with you because Mallory, you bring up an amazing point. I think it's so many of us that are there where we're like, we do all these things and we get this great feedback, but we still ain't getting opportunities. It's like, okay, so what am I doing? So Neshama, how do you coach people through, situations like that?
So the two areas that I always start with, we talked about self-awareness, and that's getting into that self-discovery phase. The next step after that is assessing your own self-worth. Again, we usually glean our worth from other people and what they've projected onto us, and I use relationship analogies all the time, but we've been raised as women to be attractive and desirable to men. So you have to dress right, you have to walk right, you have to talk a certain way, and you almost end up turning into somebody that's not you just because you want to be accepted, and I've had my share of those situations where you become a chameleon because you think that you're supposed to respond how everybody expects you to in these situations. You know what I mean? And Mallory, I have a similar story, like doing all these things and you're like, okay, when is it my turn? You know what I mean? But you have to reassess your self-worth and understand that you deserve it, especially if you know that you're putting in the work. Maybe it's just not the right avenues. A lot of times we're looking at things and we're expecting them to come the way that we expect it to. We don't know how many things there are out there that we don't know. There are so many different, just like these tech tools that we use as business owners. Before we started business, we didn't know about all of this stuff. Like I had been using Zoom, but the rest of the world didn't know about Zoom until COVID. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you don't know what you don't know. And then when you find these tools, you're like, oh, they make things so much easier. Right. It's like that with everything else, like these opportunities. So that's why it's important to continue to build relationships. A lot of y'all don't know, I'm a music artist as well. So a lot of the shows that I've gotten have been through relationships, like getting out and talking to people. And some of them hadn't even heard me sing. They just know who my husband is. And know that, oh, his wife can sing. I heard his wife can sing. You know what I'm saying? So, but you, like I said, you have to be intentional about creating those relationships and knowing who you are. That imposter syndrome can creep up. And it's because you're sitting there questioning yourself, like, do I really deserve this? Am I really as good as I think I am? And the thing is, we're always taught pride is bad. We're taught to be humble. So when you do come out thinking that you're good as you are, people are quick to put you in your place.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying? People love knocking somebody down. I was watching this one podcast, and one of the hosts is this really strong woman, and she talked about her experience dating and how some men will only pursue her to see if they could be the one to break her because she's so strong. You know what I mean? So again, you got to be comfortable in who you are because people gonna try it.
And can I say, on the note of like it being okay to know who you are, what you said about dating, right? Like I've been in a lot of situations where men will get my contact information and literally say to me after, like, oh, it was just a confidence boost. Or like it was like a game. Like, I want to see if I can get the number. You know what I'm saying? And then I've had people tell me straight to my face, like, you need to tone yourself down musically. You know what I'm saying? Because I have a specific brand. I have a specific type of show that I put on. No matter what the mood is that I'm setting, I'm going to give a certain type of quality of show, right? So I've had people tell me, no, you need to tone yourself down and humble yourself. But once you realize like what imposter syndrome is and realize that that's what you're dealing with, you have to switch. Like if you're going to make it, right? Not even make it in what you're doing, but make it here. Like you have to switch and be able to humbly tell yourself, okay, but I know whose I am and I know who I am. So that's something we're not going to do. Like I can be equal, but I'm that girl at the same time.
Right.
That's the only way you're going to actually be able to continue to pursue whatever you're pursuing.
Right.
For sure. That's one of the things that I talk about in the Self-Love Church. I say that I help people step into their power, abundance, and divinity.
Right.
We don't identify with that divinity part. We don't realize how divine we are. If you say that you come from this grand creation, this grand creator, and that you have the same ability, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
don't even get me started in that, because I'm not even Christian no more, but I can preach. Because we have examples there in that book that show us like we can do all of these things. This is what I came here to teach you. But people have perverted the teachings to say, no, you're not supposed to be able to do what he did. No, that's what he came here for. You know,
Right.
I genuinely believe that we should be able to tap into them things. He walked on water, I should be able to too, because we of that same divinity. Now,
Right.
I feel like the reason why we can't, because some people would be too much in ego. And then be like, okay, worship me too, y'all. Worship me too. Worship me too. You know what I'm saying? So it's a healthy balance. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But a lot of us lean too far into that humility part. And if you don't fortify your confidence, you can't expect other people to do it for you.
Right.
Their goal
Right.
is to take you down, whether
Yep.
you want to believe it or not. And if you have people in your circle that is not, it's people outside of your circle that are in that same vein. They you know what I mean? They want to see if they can bring you down a peg, because you too,
Right.
you know what I mean? You making them uncomfortable. It's like, well, if you were confident in who you were, you wouldn't even be looking at me. Like, if you minded my
Right.
business, your business is unminded over there. Like,
Right. Right. I love that post where it say, God, please remove the two front teeth of the people who hating. You know, like it, you know, if it was real like that, it would be, we would find out so many people, y'all, who
that part.
around us who don't even fool with us like that. But that's a great, oh my gosh, both of y'all got great points. Dr. Amber, mothers. We talk about mothers who question, am I doing the right thing? If their mama's still alive or his mama's still alive, oh Lord. Oh Lord. You got these all in your ear. So what's your take on just pushing through?
Well, and you know, just with all of these conversations and these questions, I wholeheartedly believe that the balance is internal, that we are trying to reach and that we are trying to achieve. And like we've talked about here tonight, we have so many people outside of us that we allow to validate whether or not we're on the right path or what it is that we're doing. But that really has to be confirmed internally. And even working with a lot of executive moms, you know, our biggest thing, because so many of us are really high achieving, is for us to be able to slow down and to allow that support to come in so that we can do more of the things that we truly enjoy and that make us happy, you know. But going back to your question, it goes back into those values. You know, I have a certain value of how I want to show up in motherhood. I have values of how I want to show up as a business owner. And so when I'm clear on who I am and what's important to me, I'm looking to those people that are going to reaffirm that, or even be lovingly willing to call me in about things. But everything else has nothing to do with me. And so, you know, getting to a space where I value, you know, the thoughts and opinions of a mother-in-law or everybody else. But when I check against who I am and what matters to me, we're not in alignment with that. And that's okay. You know, I'm open and I'm willing to hear you out, but I'm very clear on who I am. And that just saves me so much time and energy. I can understand that we have differing perspectives and differing beliefs, and that is okay. But in terms of my own, right, report card, or how I'm looking at how I'm grading myself against my own values, I'm doing a damn good job. And so that's what I'm rolling with.
Right. Y'all done shut down the live, like for real. When I say fire, to the people who listening, if you ain't got your ticket, I don't know what y'all doing with y'all self, because this is just a snippet of what you gonna get next weekend, y'all. Next weekend. Oh my gosh, like this has been amazing. So Mallory, you are on the Authenticity in Adversity panel where we're talking about rising above imposter syndrome and the trauma that comes with that. Because we didn't even touch on that tonight. I know you're gonna touch on that with the other ladies on the panel, but when you think about what we I've shared with y'all what we'll be talking about in there. What is one thing you want people to walk away from just learning about themselves from adversity and authenticity?
I think to put it all into one point, I just want people to realize that who they are authentically is not only okay, but it's like the best thing to be,
Right.
Foundationally, all these things that we talk about, like getting through and dealing with, and there's no better way to do that than being authentically yourself. Once you get there, like life is so much better.
Right. Right. I love it. I'm excited, y'all. When I saw that, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Neshama, you are on day one, Friday, you and Dr. Amber both. And I love the fireside chats because we get to intimately really talk and connect with each other on a particular topic. Your topic is the centered leader and finding that business balance. Because when I think about some of I'm not going to say friends. We have to really stop using that word so frivolously. But when I think about some of the people that I know who, I'm cool with or whatever, there is no balance. They are running around like chickens with their head cut off. And then you run a business. Like I don't understand, any of that. And so what's one thing you really want women business leaders to walk away with from your session?
When it comes to being that centered leader, be honest with yourself and assess what it is you really want. I talk a lot these days about goal setting and stuff. We need to set goals in every area, in our spiritual life, in our relationships, in our finances, in every area. You know what I mean? And so when it comes to business and setting those goals and being more centered, set a goal for how you want to feel, how you want your business to run.
Right.
I know I don't want to work like 15, 17 hours a day on my business. So that means I need to learn what I need to learn, implement what I need to implement, whatever tool, whatever person, So I definitely want them to walk away first understanding how important it is to be honest with yourself about what you truly want and set goals from that place.
Right. Oh, I love that. It reminds me, Dr. Amber, when you and I were talking and you said, how do I want to show up? Like, how do I want to show up in my business? How do I want to show up for myself? How do I want to show up for the people around me? So, oh my gosh, that's like so in alignment. And your session, we're going to be talking about, nurturing the leader within, allies, the advocacy of that, just the community. Like you really talk very well about that. What's one thing you want people to walk away from after your session?
Absolutely. And I think with that, leading from within, and I talk about this, one of my largest values as a person, as a mom, as an entrepreneur, is to walk the walk. I deeply believe that my word is my bond, and I am going to show up and show you what it looks like to work with me. As you mentioned, we all know those business owners who are struggling with finding that balance. And a large part of the work that I do with them is looking at how are you walking the walk in the things that you say are important, because how you show up in that is to the degree of seriousness that people are going to take your work, your brand, all of those things. And as a mother, we have a whole other generation that we are teaching and growing and molding. And so I have to walk the walk as all of those things. And so if nothing else, I really want people to be able to take a look at, the things that I say I want to do and who I want to be. How am I really showing up in that? And you don't have to tell me the answer, but how am I having that accountability with myself? What do I need to be able to show up better? And who do I need to be able to support me in doing that?
Yep. Oh my gosh. I love that. Ladies, thank y'all so much for joining me on tonight. Dr. Amber, tell everyone how they can get connected with you.
Sorry, I'd gone back on mute. Sure. So you all can visit my website at www.ambergunner.com. I am also on LinkedIn as Dr. Amber Gunner, as well as on Instagram at Dr. Amber Gunner.
Thank you so much. Neshama, how can everyone get connected with you?
You can go straight to NeshamaAlahim.com. It's right down the little, and that'll lead you to everything. The Work With Me page has all the things like the coaching, the events, the whatever, and also my social media channels. I'm at Neshama Alahim pretty much on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, thank you. And Mallory, how can we get connected with you?
Two super easy places. My website is IamMallory.com. It's I am MALLORY. Music is there. Booking information is there. Information on my charity birthday party is there. But also, all of that information is on my Instagram as well, which is super easy. I am Mallory.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Y'all, if y'all ain't got y'all tickets, get y'all tickets, because we are going to have so much fun on next week. I cannot wait to see all y'all beautiful faces next week. Like, we're going to just have us a really great time. So thank y'all again for joining me on tonight, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.